Welcome to Behind the Illness with Allie V. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Illness. I am Allie V, and I'm here again with guest Kayla McKern. Last episode she talked about her battle with addiction, and this time she's going to talk about her battle with her mental health. So, like I said last time, if you have any indication that you will get triggered or anything, please turn it off. My feelings will not be hurt because I only want the best for you. So, we're going to get started. So basically, again, in this episode, we're just going to kind of free flow. And, okay, so there's some squeaking going on in the background. If you can hear it, we're still at the park. And there are some teenagers on the swings. So, sorry about that. So we're just going to free flow with Kayla again, talking about mental health. And it's something that we were talking about. We were talking about our early 20s and how we were like, what would you call it? Pretty much clueless.
Well, yeah, we were pretty much clueless to mental health and everything. And mental health...
Ignorant.
Ignorant, yeah.
Like, we didn't... I don't know, like me, I knew there was something wrong because I cried way too much. And I was having suicidal thoughts way too much, but I never put those things together.
Yeah.
Until, I was 23. Because that's the first time I went in the hospital. But, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, like, 20s were definitely rough. And my mom has always said, you know, your 20s are always going to be rough. But I didn't know how rough.
Right.
Mentally.
And I'm still in my 20s, and I refuse to say that I'm almost 30 because I'm still 6 months away, thank you.
Well, I am unfortunately not in my 20s anymore. I am in my 30s now. So I just turned 30. February 2nd, you know, just to put that out there.
Yeah, so expect to give her a gift next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All joking aside, I guess. I mean, you know, it's good to have a little lighthearted moment. Basically, I'm going to talk to you all about my mental health and how I'm overcoming it and everything.
So go for it.
Basically, around 6th grade, I was a little bit older than the other kids. My mom held me back a year, and I failed a year. I failed 3rd grade, and my mom held me back in 1st grade. So I was about 2 years older than everybody else in school. And 6th grade was probably the point where I kind of noticed things starting to take place. Like, I was being bullied a lot and everything. I started gaining a lot of weight and everything. And I would get bullied for that. And then when... around April, let's say, I'm trying to think. When I was about 3 months old, I had meningitis as a child, as a baby actually. And so it affected my brain and affected my left ear and my left eye. So I have to wear glasses. And if, you know, now that we've gotten to the point, like an advancement with glasses and stuff, they can do them super thin for you. And so, but before that time, they were like super thick, and I got made fun of for that. And, so like Allie was saying, you know, if anything gets too disturbing or whatever, I'm going to try to keep it, you know, kind of light-hearted, I guess. Not really light-hearted, but light, I guess. Not go into gory details or anything like that. But, you know, kind of keep it light. But if you still find it triggering, you know, just skip this episode and go to the next, you know?
Absolutely.
Because, you know, your mental health matters. And, you know, I don't want to be a trigger or anything like that. So basically, 6th grade, you know, was just oh my gosh, it was so bad. And I was constantly being picked on all the time. And that's kind of like when I kind of discovered self-harming, which I didn't know that's what that was at that time. I thought it was just like releasing my anger, and I felt like I kind of deserved it in a way because I felt like I was ugly and stuff like that. So fast forward, you can probably read, this is actually in a blog post that I did for Allie's website. So you can probably read it there too, but this is just...
That's true. I'll put the link in the description here so people can just go right to it.
Yeah, in the blog post it's a little bit more descriptive and everything. Also, there is a trigger warning, so, be on the lookout for that too. But if you want to read it, I'm just basically giving you like the cliff notes of what happened and stuff like that. 7th grade, I met Allie, so, and that was back in 2004.
We're old.
We're old, man. And I just remember the kids still being mean to me and me taking out my anger and frustration on myself by self-harm. 8th grade sucked because Allie she had to go to high school, so...
Yeah, I ended up being a grade, before?
Yeah,
a grade above.
Yeah, you're a
Kayla.
grade... Yeah.
So she's a few months older than me, but I ended up being a grade above.
Yeah, and it's because my mom held me back a year for kindergarten, and then I failed 3rd grade, so, But it is what it is.
Right.
So, 8th grade, I didn't really have any friends. 9th grade, we finally reunited, and that's when marching band, got into marching band, and we were so cool in marching band,
A lot of fun times.
It was a lot of fun times. We had a lot of fun times. At least for like the 3 years that me and you were together in school, because you're a grade year older than me.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of fun times, and marching band was what was keeping me going and everything like that. Yeah. And then you had to graduate.
Wanted to.
Yeah. And then it was my turn to be a senior, and it was difficult because I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I really wanted to get into like animation and stuff because I love drawing and stuff. And I wanted to get into filmmaking. I wanted to get into psychology. I wanted to do all kinds of things. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to school to be a writer. So I graduated from high school, and I'm still proud of that diploma because I worked my butt off for that diploma. I mean, like super hard. So, going into college, started off as a English major, to hopefully write and to write my own stories, write for the newspapers. Come to find out that's kind of like a dying art. So, write my own books and everything, and then come to find out I just really didn't like it. I'd rather do it as a hobby and just, leave it at that. So I switched over to graphic design. Come to find out I hated it because I don't want to sit in front of a computer and then have Jimmy John's son, scribble over the logo, and then that's their logo, and then, you just sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. I didn't want to do that. So I switched over to studio arts, which is basically like painting, sculpture, printmaking, all that kind of stuff. But let's go back a little bit. 2012 was probably the beginning. Well, 6th grade was the catalyst for my mental illness. But I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't go to therapy. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was having these feelings of wanting to hurt myself and wanting to, having these suicidal thoughts and everything like that, And I didn't know. 2012, I was 22. I was having all these really bad thoughts and everything like that, and they kept getting really, really bad and stuff. And I think in 2014, I finally just like I would go to the doctor before that, prior to that, and I'm trying to make sure, like, I'm not having Steven on me. So, he's a little spider that we named.
Yeah, he's our little mascot today, I guess.
Make sure he's not trying to crawl in my ear or something.
We named him Steven.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to get back on the thought. It's like, 2012, I was like, you know what, I'm having these really bad feelings and stuff, like really negative thoughts. Maybe I should go see my doctor. And I had a primary care doctor and everything like that. And so he would put me on different antidepressants, and none of them would work for me. So they weren't working at all. Then 2014 came along. I found a therapist. I knew I needed to talk to somebody about how I was feeling inside, because I felt like nobody else would understand how I'm feeling and stuff. And they wouldn't be able to give me the feedback that I needed, and the coping skills.
Shoot, not even me. 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't know about my own mental health until, June of 2014. So,
Yeah.
But, yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, so I started seeing the therapist. Then he recommended a psychiatrist. I'm not going to mention any names. Started going to him, and I ended up having a total mental breakdown. I had, I guess, audible hallucinations. I didn't know if I was awake or if I was asleep, but I would hear things. And so it was very difficult. And then I just I just I was like an ant trying to crawl on me. So, okay, so, he would have me, the doctor, he would have me on different antidepressants, and none of them were working for me at all. So, eventually, in 2014, I had to be hospitalized because, and you can read this in my blog post, if you really want to know, but just, I was trying to end my life. And for some unknown reason, I'm supposed to be here. I don't know what it is. I just don't know. So, went to the hospital, and they told me what my diagnosis is. I have bipolar depression and, I guess, generalized anxiety. But I still have, I don't like being in places with a lot of people. So there's also social anxiety in there too. So I don't know. That's the part that kind of confuses me a little bit, and when I try to talk about my diagnosis and everything. So it's kind of like a hit and miss kind of thing during my 20s, with mental health and everything like that. Just recently I got out of the hospital. I just had a nervous breakdown, a drug-induced nervous breakdown, and and that's in the earlier podcast, and I go into more into depth about that. But this is more about mental health. Some days with bipolar depression, some days you feel like you're on top of the world. And then there are other days where you're deep down in the valley and you don't see any light or whatever, but you have to keep on going. And then there are some days where you have mixed episodes. And also, I haven't been actually diagnosed, so I guess I self-diagnosed myself, if that makes sense. Or if that sounded grammatically correct, I don't know, probably not. But
self-diagnosis.
Yeah, self-diagnosis.
Yeah.
with borderline personality disorder. So, say me and Jim Bob are friends. Me and Jim Bob are really good friends. And he says something that doesn't quite act right it doesn't quite agree with me. Then I go into this mode where I hate you, Jim Bob. I do not like you at all, Jim Bob, but please don't leave me, So that's basically borderline personality disorder. And I've done that with many people, family members, friends, all kinds of stuff. So, that's just a self-diagnosis that I have, but I am getting better at it. They're constantly tweaking my meds and stuff like that, and right now I don't have a therapist, but with therapy, I've been doing a lot better. So, been talking and going through all this stuff, and I'm not the type of person that likes to talk about my feelings and stuff. That's one thing that I'm trying to gain control of, I guess, or get better at, is to learn how to express my emotions, but learn how to express them without exploding or blowing up or something like that.
Yeah, sometimes that's really hard to do.
Yeah. And then, trying to express your emotions without going overboard, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's very tough. It's very tough to balance, your wants and your needs emotionally.
Yeah. And I want to point out that she doesn't have a therapist because she doesn't want one. It's just in the search of one.
Yeah, I really want a therapist.
Yeah. And it's something that I always say is I think everybody could benefit from a therapist. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening, I don't care how healthy you are or even how healthy you think you are, everybody can benefit from a therapist.
Yeah.
It gets you in practice mode. If a major trauma happens, you'll be able to handle it a little better.
Teaches you how to be mindful.
Yeah, definitely. And you'll already have kind of those practices and coping skills for, like I said, if a major traumatic event happens. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you can't react to it, but you'll be better prepared, is what I'm saying. So.
'Cause see, that's how I used to be. I used to think that, I'm not supposed to react or something like that. My emotions are going to get me in trouble or something like that. So,
I mean, honestly, it depends on the situation, but we all know that everybody has reactions to things, and that's something I struggled with too. I wasn't allowed to be angry at something, or I didn't want to upset someone. So you just bottle in those emotions. But I preach it all the time on social media, and to my nieces and my nephews, your feelings are valid. You're allowed to have feelings, and you're allowed to react, but you just try to do it in a healthy way.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to close it out. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that if you are struggling out there with a mental illness, even if it's unknown or something like that, and basically what Allie had described, everybody needs therapy. Everybody needs to go to therapy at least once in their life, to be emotionally equipped to handle a situation. I think that's important. And if you are struggling, get help. Seek help, it's 2020, mental health is starting to be more accepted, socially and everything. It's not like the 50s where, it's so taboo and everything like that, It's starting to be more socially accepted, and having a mental illness, doesn't make you any less of a person. So, get help. Get help if you're struggling. If it's an emergency, go to the emergency room and get help,
Exactly. There's no shame in doing it.
Yeah.
I promise. There are, like I've said, there are people that, they won't get with the times and realize that, yeah, depression is real. So they are going to shame you, but they're the people that don't matter. I promise you.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be some ignorant people, but
oh yeah,
there's just no shame in getting help. Getting help is brave and just, I don't know, it's the first step to just recovery.
Yes.
And living, your definition of a normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And if it includes therapy, then shoot, it includes therapy.
Yeah.
I go every Friday.
Yeah. Right now, I am looking for a therapist, and I'm hoping that I find a really good one that I can jive with and get really good with and everything. Can't believe I said jive. It's like the 1970s or something.
Well, see, that's another thing. Like, your first therapist, and you've had other therapists, but your first therapist may not be the one for you, and that's okay too. And it's okay to say that they're not the one, and it's okay to keep looking until you feel like they're the right therapist.
Yeah.
How many therapists have I had now? I think maybe 4.
I think my first therapist quit on me, and that's something also to look into. I mean, if they're not enthusiastic about your recovery, then they're not the right therapist. They're not the therapist you need.
Exactly.
You need to get somebody that's, enthusiastic about your recovery, that wants you to recover, wants you to grow as a person, And I've been through several therapists, I can't really remember the number, but, at least probably about 3 or 4, I
don't remember the number, but the one that I'm with now, I've had for, 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there's just nothing wrong with continuing to search. But I don't know, I can't say to not get rid of the one that you're with because, if you're not compatible, then you don't need to be with them. But don't put yourself in a situation where it'll be dangerous if you don't have some kind of therapy. You know what I mean? So, anything else?
I think that's it. I mean, basically what we've said in a nutshell,
Just no shame in getting help.
Yeah, this isn't the 1950s. It's 2020. Mental health, we're still fighting on that stigma. We're still trying to get rid of that stigma, and there is a stigma still out there. But I think it's more acceptable to have a mental illness and for people to understand about a mental illness and everything like that. So, go out there, get help, find a therapist, if need be, find a psychiatrist, to be put on the right kind of meds and everything.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with being on medication.
No. I take medicine every day.
Yep.
Every day. And if I don't, I can tell there's a difference because I'm not myself. And it's not like being on medicine is going to alter you in some way or turn you into a robot or something like that,
I mean, there are some medicines that will do that.
Yeah.
It just means you try another one.
Yes. It's all trial and error.
That's another thing. I can't tell you how many antidepressants I've had to try until I'm on the right one now.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not healed.
Yeah.
You're still going to have bad days. But
yeah, I mean, and I guess in a way, and not to be discouraging or anything like that, I mean, you may never be fully healed, in quotation marks. But at least, some of that pressure is lifted off of you with the help of meds, with a psychiatrist, and with a therapist, and even helping yourself, because that's the main factors that you have to be the one to want help and to get help.
Right.
Nobody can force you.
Right. So just like my little campaign that I have, you just keep fighting.
Yep.
Don't give up. Keep fighting.
Yep.
But I think that's all we got.
I think so.
We're going to sign off. But definitely, and I've told Kayla this, she's always such a good guest for me in any project that I do. So,
and I love doing any project. I support any project that you bring forth. So I support it 100%.
Yeah, and that's very, like, I can tell. You know?
Yeah.
So I'll probably have her on, or I will have her on later on. But yeah, thank you for joining me for this episode and the last episode and telling your story. And if you want to read her story in, you know, a bit more detail, you can go to my website. And she is which one was it? Was it the February?
February's episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
February guest
my birth
writer.
Month, so.
Right. Okay, so February guest writer. So you can go to my website and you can either scroll or you can go up at the top in menu. It'll say guest writers. You just, you know, hover over that, go to February 2020, and there it is.
Well, thank you for having me as a guest and me telling my story, you know, both with addiction and with having a mental illness, you know. So I'm very thankful for that, for me getting my story out there. And hopefully, maybe my story will help you and maybe other stories will help you out, you know.
Yeah. I mean, this helps you feel like you're not alone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all we got. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.
Mm-hmm.